Hello learners and welcome to this session on prose. I am Dr. Samina Azhar from Department of English at the Bhopal School of Social Sciences. You all know that there are 4 genres of English literature: drama, poetry, prose, fiction. In today's session, we are going to focus on prose. We shall discuss origin, definition and meaning of prose. We will also discuss salient features of prose. We will compare prose with poetry, and finally, we will discuss varieties of prose. Now, what is the word prose? This word prose comes from the identical Middle French word prose, which was used as shorthand for the Latin phrase prosa oratio, meaning straightforward or direct speech. The word prose first appeared in the English language during 14th century. It was recorded in the first edition of the Wycliffe's Bible and in Geoffrey Chaucer's The Tale of Malaby. Now we move to the definition of prose. Prose is defined as any writing that is not broken up into poetic lines or written in a metrical structure. Prose is verbal or written language that follows the natural flow of speech. On the basis of the definition of prose, let us discuss some of the salient features of prose. We know that prose is written in plain and ordinary language. It follows a grammatical structure, therefore, it follows grammatical rules, and it has non-metrical form of language. It is written in full sentences and paragraphs. Prose may be employed in literary and non-literary works, or it may be fictional or non-fictional. When prose is literary, we can consider novels, short stories as literary prose. Newspapers, newspaper articles, blogs, they can be considered as non-literary prose. Now let us compare prose with poetry. You have a poem on your screen. The title of this poem is A Glimpse of Taj Mahal. It is written by Yunus Pir Bocas, and the poet in this poem describes the beauty of Taj Mahal. He uses figurative language like chisel cut beauty, beauty of love, starry white dome, ray lit cloud. Now let us change this poetry into prose. Now we have these 2 paragraphs written in prose, and you see that the figurative language is not used. The starry dome has changed to ivory white marble. The beauty of love has been changed to the tomb of his wife. So we can conclude that the prose does not use ornamental language. Prose follows natural patterns of speech and communication, whereas traditional poetry has deliberate patterns such as rhythm and rhyme. Prose has grammatical structure with sentences and paragraph, whereas poetry has metrical structure with repeating patterns of beat. Prose is written in everyday language and poetry is written in figurative language. Next we move to varieties of prose. We have got 4 varieties of prose: descriptive prose, narrative prose, expository prose and persuasive prose. When we talk about descriptive prose describes settings, scenes or people, and the writer vividly describes the scene in such a manner that the readers visualize the going-ons within the writing. Narratives like short stories, novels, they are the examples of descriptive prose. On your screen you have a paragraph taken from Ernest Hemingway's novel A Farewell to Arms, the writer here describes a house in a village, and you can see he says, we lived in a house in a village that looked across the river and the plains to the mountains. In the bed of the river there were pebbles and boulders, dry and white in the sun, and the water was clear and swiftly moving and blue in the channels. You can visualize this scene. That is the highlighting point of descriptive prose. Next we move to narrative prose. Narrative prose gives us a description of events. It answers WH question like what happens, where does it happen, when does it happen, why does it happen, and to whom does it happen. So, a narrative prose recreates an actual experience of an imaginary one in a way that the reader experiences it mentally. In a narrative prose, the action grips the attention of the reader. You have a paragraph on your screen taken from Maya Angelou's New Directions. In this paragraph, the writer describes a girl and her behavior. She says, I looked up the road I was going and back the way I come, and since I wasn't satisfied, I decided to step off the road and cut me a new path. Next we have expository prose. Expository prose deals in definition, explanation or interpretation. The purpose of expository prose is to present details concretely and exactly. The primary object of an expository prose is to explain and clarify. So, writing on science, law, philosophy, criticism, political science, history are some examples of expository prose. This paragraph on your screen has been taken from Bernard Shaw's essay Freedom, where he describes the difference between the natural slavery of a man to nature and the unnatural slavery of man to man. So, the description is of the explanation has been given by the writer to understand how man has become a slave of another man, and what is the difference between natural slavery of man to nature and the unnatural slavery of man to man. Then the next one we have persuasive prose. Persuasive prose convinces the reader of the writer's opinion, and it draws on personal experience, logical arguments. It appeals to the emotion of the reader and influences the reader through compelling speech. This example has been taken from Harper Lee's famous novel To Kill a Mockingbird. In this paragraph, the main character, Finch, tries to present a logical argument in favor of a black man who is supposed to have raped a white woman. With this, we end our session on prose. Thank you so much. In this session, we have discussed definition of prose, salient features of prose, and varieties of prose. In the next session, we will discuss forms of prose. Thank you so much.